I recently posted a day to night hyperlapse on my socials, and that kind of blew up, and a lot of people had a lot of questions. So in today's longer form video, I will be sharing with you how I made it. Step one is to shoot a daytime hyperlapse. This is straight out of camera. As you can see, I'm getting pretty good at these. That makes sense because I've been doing it for about 13 or 14 years now. I revisited the scene and shot it at night as well, making sure that I focused on the same window as the same anchor point for each shot. And this is the new rig that I'm shooting on. I've obviously mounted a 360 camera just to the right of my chest, which captures the whole scene. And as you can see, I am taking my time to line up on my monitor the correct window. In honesty, this is the second time I'm shooting this shot because the first shot was done at night. However, the issue with the shot at night is that I focused on one of the windows, one of the bright windows on the tower, which I wasn't sure which one it was in the daytime. So it took me quite a while to figure out which window that was. Luckily, I still had the photos on the memory card so I could review the shot on the camera, do a couple of test shots, and then flick between them to make sure that I'm lined up properly. I'm also, of course, standing in the exact same starting spot as before, and I have the same crosshair which you can customize on the Lumix system. I have the same crosshair positioning, so a vertical and a horizontal line that also shows on my monitor, and I can zoom in on that monitor and then I can finally tune or adjust the positioning of the gimbal orientation and the camera so that it is always pointing at the same window. You get a lot of looks with this rig, obviously, and you turn the hat around to shield from the sun. I wish I had a monitor sun shield. Sadly, I don't. And yeah, this is the process. There's no surprises here. It just takes a while to do a hyperlapse, but it's pretty quick with this rig. Shout out to Boris from Brotherside Films for showing me this filming rig in Saudi Arabia last year. He asked me to keep it quiet, and then I asked him, can I make a video? And he said yes, so he finally get me making a video about this. This is getting close to the end of the sequence. I'm getting pretty underneath the building now, and I'm about to lose my tracking point. I was crossing a bike path here, and I figured it's time to shut it down. So I am waddling over. Your legs get kind of tired after a while. I'm waddling over to a spot to de-rig, and if you want me to make a video about this rig specifically, how it's set up and what the equipment is, let me know in the comments. Bit of engagement bait here. I know you want it, but we gotta drag out these things, right, for social media. This is me doing a little behind the scenes bit, but we'll speed this up here to show you how I shot the night stuff, which is of course very similar. Here you have it, the straight out of camera night shot. This is the JPEG sequence, so it's ungraded. We will color grade it later to make it stand out from the daytime shot. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the first recording. Again, a lot of people looking at you, and I don't like shooting in London at night because there's just a lot of shady people around who would love to grab what you own, and I hate that. So a little bit before the previous starting point, I just started shooting slightly longer exposures. I think 1/20th or 1/10th or something like that of a second. And you can see with my right thumb, I am moving the joystick to frame up the shot on one of those bright windows, and that's what I was talking about earlier. The bright windows at the top of the building, I lined up with the crosshair. You can't see the crosshair on the monitor here at night, but it is there, trust me, and it is extremely easy to just line that up for each photo. Depending on how fast I want to go, I can move the camera, because per step you take, it's almost pretty much the same adjustment. It changes slightly over time, but you can change it while you step as well, and then you can speed it up. The thing is with a hyperlapse, if you shoot it too fast, if your motion and your photos, your interval is too fast, you don't get enough time lapsing or time passing. Here I was getting spoken at by this woman who didn't want to be on camera, and I was like, well, look, you're not on camera, it's all blurry. And in the back of my head, I'm like, you're also in public, so you don't have any expectations of privacy. But I always try to respect people's wishes, so I blurred her out of the end shot. Oh no, I made sure that she wasn't in focus in the end shot. And yeah, just keep going. Look at that bright billboard of the bus stop. That was very bright on the camera and very bright in my eyes as well. Anyways, this tree almost obscured the shot. As I mentioned, this was the first time shooting it, the daytime shot. I shot the day after, and I'm glad I did it that way because it gave me a little bit of extra stuff to talk about in post-production about lining up that window. But it took me about an extra 10 minutes to figure out which window I was shooting in the daytime and the nighttime. And here we're approaching the end of the sequence. I kind of just always keep it going as long as I can, and then once I'm done, I try to shoot 10 to 20 more photos just so you have a nice handle where you think you're going to end, but then you have a little bit more footage. So that's always very handy. You can see I'm looking up. I'm slowly losing the positioning where I can point the camera at. And then again, as I'm approaching the end, I tune the joystick because it was like 2 taps of the thumb, for example. You keep doing that for each step. So even if your anchor point gets obscured per step, if you know how long you have to tap that joystick, you can kind of keep it going until you regain visibility of your anchor point on the building or on your subject. But in this case, it was just going out of view, so there was no real point in keeping it going. So we're going to finish the shot, and then we're going to talk about the post-production side of things. Before we jump into After Effects, once again, this is the before, so fairly sturdy, as I mentioned, getting pretty good at this. This is mostly because of the monitor. And this is the side-by-side, straight out of camera versus stabilized. You can tell how sturdy that is. Same for the night shot, side-by-side. The one on the left is straight out of camera JPEGs. The one on the right was the initially color-graded sequence, but I wanted it to be a little bit more punchy, a little bit more spicy. So that's this sequence. I didn't like it as much. It was too warm. It didn't look like nighttime enough when I was blending it, so I made it a little bit extreme, a lot more blue and purple in there, and more bright as well, because we're going to be overlaying them and transitioning from one shot to the next, so you want to make sure that there's enough contrast between the shots. So we're in After Effects here. I've stabilized and rendered both the hyperlapses. If you want to learn how to do that, you can watch any of my dozens of other videos, and I've put them on top of each other in a composition. The bottom one is just there. That's not going to do anything. That's the back plate, you can call it. There's been no adjustments made to that one, as you can see. The top one is what we're going to be animating. Now, the first thing you're going to do is make sure that your timing is right. So here I'm standing next to this bin. In the layer underneath you want to, or next to this bus stop, the layer underneath you also want to be next to that bus stop. And further down the line you might be slightly off your timing, so use time remapping and keyframing to align the shots so that they are in the exact same position in time and in length on your path. Then you're going to be adding a mask. I added an oval mask on the top layer, as you can see, mask 1. That is that little oval, and you keyframe the expansion, don't mind that. You're going to keyframe the expansion of that mask over, say, 2 seconds. That's what you see there, those 2 keyframes, they expand, bloop. And the reason it's a soft expansion is because I've added feathering, and I'll show you that in a second as well. Now what you're going to do is you're going to copy that mask and slide it forward in time, and you're going to change the blending modes to subtract. So you reveal from the second mask back to what's underneath. So add, subtract, and then add on the third mask, which is also copying that mask expansion and moving it forward in time. You see how those 3 layers of keyframes are slipped forward in time? That's how you do that. And then you just go add, subtract, add to make sure that you reveal and unreveal what is happening there. Now, I believe this is where I show you the feathering. If you don't feather, it looks like that. So just add a thick old feather on that, so that it's a very soft, gradual change in look. You can also get away with a lot of mistakes. It is very accurate on the building, but the surroundings, it's not as accurate, and that really shows with a hard feather edge, or a lack of a feather edge, I would say. And that's pretty much how you do it. I'm going to be making a more in-detail breakdown of how I built this project in my Ultimate Time-Lapse course. That will be a new chapter. So if you're interested in learning from me at a slower pace, where you can take more time and you can ask me questions as well, that will be on the Ultimate Time-Lapse course. If you remember already, you will get access to that soon once I am back from my honeymoon. By the way, I fixed the perspective as well, because the tower was a little bit short and not how I envisioned it. So I added an adjustment layer and a power pin effect to straighten that out a little bit. And that's very simple. You do that. You do stretch out a bit of pixels, so you lose a little bit of resolution, but that's pretty much it. And there you have it, the before and the stabilized version. And then you go into the night shot. And then, of course, you combine them all into one fun shot. And then you post it on social media. And it goes not as good as you hoped it would. But you still were happy making it. If you have any questions, let me know. But as I just mentioned, I'm going to be on my honeymoon for 2.5 weeks. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I will hopefully see you on the next video. Bye-bye.